right. There we are.
All right.
Awesome. Hey
What's
guys,
up?
what's going on?
Welcome to Chasing Shadows.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Dan.
Nice to see you guys. I hope you guys could see us all right on Facebook Live, I believe it is, and we're recording our YouTube as we're speaking. So tonight's topic, Dan, go ahead.
Well, tonight we're going to talk about UFOs, identified flying objects.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the UFO word by definition. It doesn't necessarily mean from outer space.
No.
It just basically means that it's something that the person who sees it in the air can't identify what it is at the time, so it becomes an unidentified flying object.
Yeah, I think a lot of times when people hear UFO, they automatically say, oh, aliens. But I've actually talked to people who are interested in UFOs and have absolutely no belief in extraterrestrial life. So, they can be, they don't have to be part of the same, coin, if you will. They could be mutually exclusive.
However, there have been UFO sightings that have been as early as 1639, believe it or not, from a New England UFO sighting for encounters. And the person's name, let me see, John Winthrop in 1639 in Massachusetts, was part of the colonies, actually observed a strange unidentified flying object. Back then, I think anything, if it wasn't a bird, would be unidentified.
Yeah, right.
And it says it came out of the muddy river at night, and he saw a green light as it moved in the sky. So swamp gas would kind of hover around the top of the water, but this actually went directly into the sky. He said it stood still for a minute, then it flamed up, and about excuse me here, I'm terrible with my eyeballs here. He said 3 yards square in the sky, then Winthrop reports, when it stood still, it flamed up, and then it swiftly moved off like an arrow. So, that was in 1639, so I don't think the government was testing new aircrafts back then. But
yeah, I don't think so either.
No. Then there was another case of Cynthia Everett in 1808, again in Massachusetts. She was a 24-year-old woman. She said around 10 o'clock, she saw a very strange appearance. It was a light, which proceeded from the east. At the first sight, I thought it was a meteor, but then its motion soon perceived that it wasn't. It seemed to dart first as quickly as light and appeared to be in the atmosphere, but lowered towards the ground and kept on an equal distance, sometimes ascending and sometimes descending. And that was in 1808. So again, pretty crazy.
I'm pretty sure that wasn't military experiments.
No, definitely
Of course,
not.
I could be wrong.
Well, hey, who knows? Maybe time travel. That's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this topic has been around forever. I think we've had it all across the United States. We've had people that were sheriffs to military people, just average folks. I mean, you see stuff that you can't identify, and could it have been a meteor? Sure. Could it have been seeing almost fire in the sky where lightning's bouncing around? It could have been. But, still taking the fact that reports of UFOs have been dated way back when. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I have a list here of the most common things that are the cause for UFOs that have been misidentified.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell us about them.
Yep. And I pulled this list off the internet, and some of these are weather balloons, flares, rockets, lightning, missile tests, cloud formations, what I kind of thought was ridiculous, the planet Venus, airplanes, and military experiments. Now, I gotta say, for the many of UFO sightings, there probably is a logical explanation, and it could fit into a lot of these categories, but there is a small percentage that there is no real way to pinpoint what it is, and those are the ones that we're most interested in, are those small percent of ones that there really is a hard time getting a grasp on what it is.
Well, I mean, some years back, when I was a little kid, I remember we used to camp at this place, the Grove Chairman. It was up in Barkhamsted area, Rattlin Hill Road, I believe it was. And it was just a small parcel of land that used to be a farmer's farm, and his farm burnt down, but he owned the property and decided instead of to plant on it, he would lease it out. And a group of campers, which was my parents and some friends, got together through the CB Club when the CB Club was big, so we're talking back in the 70s, and rented this place out. And we used to lay down and look up in the sky, and it was beautiful because there wasn't any light pollution, which is extremely important because you can see everything then. And I remember being a little kid and seeing things across the sky, and I remember saying to my father, "Daddy, is that a UFO?" And he would chuckle and he says, "Well, it could be. Of course, it could also be a satellite." So as a kid, I wasn't necessarily shunned for it, but
glad you brought up satellite. I don't mean to interrupt you, because that's actually one that could have gone on that list that I didn't say. So that's another good one.
And they can move, strange or reflection, from light. So I mean, it could look like it almost changes directions kind of quick or shimmers or something. So, but then sometimes people have, some people have some proof that I can't really be smart enough to think is a joke, because some of the stuff is kind of scary. People that say they had, pieces of metal that they found in their finger and they took it out and they did an analysis and they can't find out, or there's parts that aren't from Earth. And
there's a doctor that specialized in taking out like those kind of things.
Yeah, I think I heard something about that before. I mean, we're not talking like 50 cases, we're talking hundreds, right? Yeah.
If not thousands. Yeah.
So, with that being said, that kind of leads us into a segue as far as going into some of the history. You mentioned something about Barney and Betty Hill. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Just before I get into that, like the most well-known case, which kind of started the whole UFO craze, was in what year was it? 1947 with the Roswell crash. That was kind of the first one that people talked about. And in fact, there was even a newspaper that put out the next day that flying saucers, they put it, was recovered, in that area. But then quickly they retracted the story after military came in, and I believe they ended up saying that it was a weather balloon that crashed. I find it kind of funny. I was reading an article where it talked about Roswell, and it mentioned that Roswell was the I forget the way they termed it, but like the most debunked of all the sightings, which I kind of gotta laugh at, because I mean, there's witness testimony that says that they saw this thing. So, unless these people were all lying, that's kind of a funny one. And
these people, and like you pointed out, a lot of these people actually worked for the military itself. Some people were sheriffs and the EMS people that came around at the time. And my question is this: I mean, everybody knows what balsa wood is, and everybody knows with well, back then you wouldn't, but mylar. They said, I guess it was mylar and some other stuff. But I have a real big problem with this, because if it was just, balsa wood and stuff, why did they bring these big tractor trailers in there, and what was underneath those covers when they were actually taking it off the land that were, I mean, there were photographs of these trucks with big pieces of something on it that were covered, and then later on they said, no, it was just plastic and balsa wood. But
something doesn't add up.
Yeah, I mean, it. And let me ask you this: if a balloon hit the ground, would it leave an impact or a crater like that actually tore up the field? Because I mean, there was actual photographs would look like almost a jet hit the ground. It was so torn up, and they said, no, it was a weather balloon. Yeah. I don't know if weather balloons actually cause that much damage.
And we won't even go into the further things that talked about bodies actually being recovered from this thing.
Yeah, like a local mortuary being asked to round up some very small coffins, kid-sized coffins, but
that's a whole nother story there.
Yeah. So who knows? But
yeah, I just kind of wanted to, kind of preface that. And then in 1961, we get into Barney and Betty Hill, which is the first widely publicized report of an alien abduction in the United States. This happened in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. The couple claimed to have been taken by extraterrestrials near Franconia Notch on the night of September 19th, 1961. According to what they said, the Hill saw a bright light in the sky while driving home, and this was about 10:30 p.m. Betty thought it was a shooting star at first, but it kind of changed direction and then moved upward, which is kind of strange there. They stopped the car and they wanted to take a closer look, and then they used some binoculars. And when they looked, they saw an odd-shaped craft flashing multicolored lights, I should say.
Hello, Melissa.
Hey, Melissa.
Tell your friends.
Now I'm gonna read specifically from this little thing I got. As they drove away, the craft, which they estimate was at least 40 feet long, followed them. Eventually, descending so low over their 1957 Chevy that they stopped the car. Again, using binoculars, Barney saw humanoid figures in black uniforms through the ship's windows. The Hills drove away at a high speed. They heard some buzzing and beeping sounds and experienced a tingling sensation. Then they blacked out. When they regained consciousness, they had traveled nearly 35 miles south, although they didn't recall the journey. Later, under hypnosis, the Hills described being taken onto the ship where they were separated and examined. This story was adapted by a journalist named John G. Fuller, and he turned that into a 1966 best-selling book, The Interrupted Journey. Later, there was a movie made in the 70s called The UFO Incident, but that's a really interesting case to get into.
That was a really good movie, too, because it really pinpointed... more than just I mean, it actually went into actually talking to the people that were involved with it. It wasn't just reenactments, right? What didn't that
I didn't see, honestly.
I think it did. Well, here it says in the same thing that Fuller also reports that a policeman patrolling 101 just after midnight stopped to check on a woman parked alongside the road. The breathless woman claimed that a flying object was flashing red lights and had been chasing her. A few hours later, the 18-year-old man arrived at the exterior of the police station and claimed while hitchhiking Route 150 he had seen a line of 5 bright lights over a house about 100 feet away where he stood. So this is reports that were actually given by police officers as well as people that weren't.
The one you were just speaking of was the one that was in Exeter, which was a couple years later. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it was the same writer that was that had covered it, I believe.
Listen. I would love to see something. I mean, I really would. I would love to see something that I definitely believe that we're absolutely not the only life planet that's alive in all of these galaxies that we're finding. I mean, that's just impossible. I mean, it's really stupid. Do I think that we were visited? I do. I think, listen, I think there's some truth to it. I don't know if, they were like Marvin Martian with the little helmet on and stuff, but I do think that there was some form of activity. I mean, we've jumped leaps and bounds with technology in such a short period of time.
We really have.
I mean, 1950s, basically just TV was coming out. The 30s and 40s was radio. And we went from 1950 to, let's say, the year 1980, and we had computers. Then 1990s, we had internet, and then the computers were just booming from there. And now
we've got quantum computers,
telephones that are just as powerful as any laptop, some of them, and we do everything from them. So I mean, how did we get from a computer the size of a room to something as small as this in a matter of 30 to 40 years?
It's funny you say that, because a lot of the the rumors and conspiracies out there goes right back to this Roswell crash, where they found certain materials and they were back engineered, and it led to some of these technologies that we have today. Whether or not you buy into that, I mean, that's up to you. But,
well, that's an important word too. Back engineered, which is R&D, which means they found something, tore it apart, and figured out what made it work and built it again or improved it. So that means there was some form of contact somewhere, you would think. I mean, you know, listen, humans aren't, I mean, we're pretty brilliant. You know, I know that there's some people that have IQs that are astronomical, and, you know, physicists and all this stuff that's mind-blowing. But you think about this, I mean, literally in 30 years, okay, we'll say 1960 to 1990, we went from basically nothing, you know, a computer that was so big that it had less power than a calculator, you know, and then 30 years later we've got cell phones, you know, 40 years later we're on wireless stuff. I mean, I don't know.
It's amazing.
It really is. It really is. But which leads us to Connecticut. Now,
well, before we get into that, I just kind of want to backtrack
yeah, go ahead.
As far as the hills go, a lot of people that are skeptics, and so I want to bring this up because I want to look at all sides of it. This information with them came out after they went through hypnotic regression. So a lot of skeptics will say that those are kind of memories that weren't real memories. They could have been implanted, or they could have been, you know, kind of like a leading thing where the hypnotist kind of made suggestions, and when you're in that state, you're open to suggestion. So, I mean, that's very possible, you know.
But listen, hypnosis doesn't work like you see. No,
exactly.
You know, where you know somebody has no idea about what they're doing. That's BS.
Yeah, that is not true.
That's Hollywood. Those are shows that you see on stage, and it's to make people laugh. Realistically, it's supposed to just help you remember stuff. Can you fabricate in that state? Sure. You can also fabricate just outward. I mean, you don't have to be under hypnosis. As far as them placing memories, and I mean, yeah, I guess it's possible. You know, some people believe the Manchurian Candidate was real too, and who the hell knows? You know, I'm.
Well, that's the thing. We really don't know.
Yeah, I may never be smart enough to know the answer to that, but definitely fun to check out and look into stuff. But,
absolutely.
But I wanted to definitely touch base because we're in Connecticut, and we just did Massachusetts, which was just proof of date. We did some New Hampshire, but there has been a ton of sightings in Connecticut. This has been over the last roughly 6 years. There's been a lot. I do remember there was a case when my father was alive and I was a kid, and we were downtown in Torrington where there was some kind of festival going on, whether it was a street fair or what, but it was a while ago. So the thing is before the street fairs, but something was going on. We were outside, and I remember being down near the old post office, you know, the Kelly building there, and looking up and seeing these lights, and they were silent, and they were going across the air, and they were moving like this perfectly in sequence together. Had no idea what any of this was, and later on we found out that it was a group of aerial parachutists that would come down, and they would start shows, and they would put flares and lights on their thing, and they would go around.
You could see how that could be confused.
That did, and that absolutely did, and it turned out to be, it was human, but at that time, because we didn't know who it was a UFO. They were UFOs because we didn't know what the hell they were.
In the true sense of the term,
yeah. Not that it was from outer space, just that we didn't know what it was. So, with that being said, there's a ton. I mean, most of this. I printed out a packet to kind of keep us on track. My wife said, "Hey guys."
Well, we can sometimes get way off the rails. And
we just try to have some fun, you know. So that's all right. Melody, hello. How are you? So what we're doing is one of these cases in Connecticut I wanted to bring up. We have a lot of stuff like fireballs in the sky. Let me start at the beginning.
A message saying that they can't see us.
They can't see us. Is the screen black? Is it? If not, hello, Candy Cane. Well, we'll act as if this is a podcast, and if you can't see us, I apologize. We're still trying to get all this stuff up and running. We are,
the feed's kind of broken.
The feed's broken. Okay.
That makes sense, because the Wi-Fi isn't exactly
so
strong.
we will, this is being recorded. You will be able to see something a little bit better. We're working on the internet, so I do apologize. So, as long as you can hear us okay, can you guys hear us all right? I'm hoping that we get a response back for that. The video, sorry, we're trying to experiment here. We will get it, folks.
And we'll have a link up for the YouTube page.
Yeah. There will be a link up. You can check us out on Facebook, Chasing Shadows 2018. Dan is awesome about making sure he posts it to us. It's very jumbled. Okay. So even our audio is jumbled.
Okay.
All right, guys, I'm sorry. We're trying. We're on a shoestring budget, but we'll get there. Just be patient. We're talking about UFOs. So, yes, I know. Well, one of the things I wanted to talk about was on January 1st, 2012, there were a bunch of UFO sightings through the state of Connecticut. Since January 1st, 2012, there's a bunch of these that we're going to read off, or at least the locations. One of them was, I want to go backwards because this is printed backwards. I apologize. Okay, here we go. Oh wow, my wife's birthday, January 8th, 2012, Bridgeport, Connecticut.
She was born in 2012?
Yeah, 2012, yeah.
You're much younger than I thought, Missy.
Yes. Yes. That would make me in trouble. Yes, no.
Yeah.
January 8th, and I won't say the year, is when my wife was born, and she's 28. So, going on to this was January 12th, 2012. This was Sunday, around 8:30 p.m. This person said that they saw an orange, reddish, dish-shaped stars, or dish-shaped thing in the stars. And they said, what was that? That was reported. He said that he saw that he thought they were UFOs, and they were reddish orbs. That's not so good. January 8th, Bridgeport, Connecticut again. 3 to 4 reddish orbs over the highway. These are different folks. We have March 13th, the day after our anniversary. Pretty cool. Pomfret, Connecticut, 11 p.m. There was a very loud how do you pronounce that? Pervasive sound. Sorry, eyeballs, I gotta get checked. Steadily beeping. This woman and her husband thought the sound was mechanical. After about 5 minutes, there was an extremely bright white illuminating light coming from the forest. And this is in Pomfret, Connecticut. What do you got there, Danny?
Well, I'm on a different page.
Alright. Let's see.
I noticed it was in the opposite order. So
yeah, so I'm trying to go backwards to forward now.
I gave up on trying to keep up with you.
Middletown, Connecticut, November 25th, 2012. Again, this one was actually... One of these was actually broadcasted on TV, I believe, or we made it to Channel 3, but there's a ton of them, from Greenwich to Bridgeport to Middletown, Suffield, Connecticut, New Britain.
You know what I actually saw?
A lot of New Britain.
On one of these UFO programs a couple years back, Winstead was actually on the show for a sighting, but it was actually a fake sighting. It was the incident was I don't want to say it was a hoax, because it was like a planned thing, not meant to deceive people, but just as part of like I don't know how to describe it,
gimmick.
I guess maybe some. I mean, it was a hoax, but they weren't hiding it as a hoax.
Right.
They showed, oh no, this wasn't a real thing, and the show talked about it too. So it was kind of interesting.
Well, I can tell you that, I remember being a little kid and always hearing stuff about UFOs, and I guess during the 70s and early 80s, things were kind of crazy around then. There is a packet here. One of the photographs you'll see for the advertisement for tonight's show is actually an aircraft that was developed, and it was actually it was a real plane. It wasn't. This isn't an artist's rendition. It was actually something that actually did fly. I believe the Grumman company built that. There's also a great book out when I was in high school. It was Experimental Aircraft, and I don't know who the author is. I'll be have to see if I can find out. But it actually talked a lot about Air Force bases, and actually Connecticut Bradley Airport, International Airport, they actually did fly a small disc experimental. It didn't go very far. You know, it was just that's the one I showed you. It's only inches off the ground. You know,
yep.
and but they still made flight with it. So, you know, you have the stealth now, which, let's face it, you know, back in the 90s or the 80s, if you saw that thing flying overhead, holy shit.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah, that would be a UFO.
Yeah.
You know, and they had that technology, you know, years before it was actually, you know, brought out to the mainstream.
Well, one of the very first amazing planes that nobody knew about was the U-2, the spy plane.
Absolutely.
You know, you're talking at the very crest of the atmosphere, and this thing could take pictures, you know, and basically get a license plate number off of, you know, things. I mean that's how crazy technology had boomed so quick. You know, that blows me away. Now, the other thing is with drones. You know, drones aren't just used, you know, for military exercises. They're used for checking different temperatures and also checking pressures and stuff in the atmosphere. You know, there's different kinds of drones. I mean, now you can buy one from Walmart, for God's sakes. But back in the day, I mean, these things obviously weren't that small, and you know, all this stuff was used. I mean, back in World War II, they actually had a fighter plane that they actually turned into a drone. There was nobody in it, and they were going to do bomb runs and stuff with it. So I mean, this technology really boomed, and it was directly after the Roswell, you know, incident. So I mean,
it does seem that ever since then the technology just exponentially
completely just came out of nowhere. And you know, I mean, I would love to see some. I would love to go to New Mexico and just check out that, hang out in the desert and see what we can find, you know. I think something like that would be a lot of fun, you know. Scary too, because you want to be careful. But
do you remember hearing about the Phoenix Lights back in 1997?
I do remember hearing something about that.
That was the incident where you could see the balls of light up in the sky, and if you kind of follow it, and the people who were there that could see under and look up saw the outline of a craft. Like the lights kind of went along the side of the craft.
I believe one of those was an officer of the law, wasn't he? I believe there was something about there was the triangular, right? The large triangular.
Yep.
Yeah, I think one of them was a police officer for a small town in Arizona. I can't think. But yeah, there was. You know, it's amazing. I mean, we're seeing stuff how we're kind of going backwards now too, though, with our space program, because we went from a shuttle, which obviously caused a lot of problems and had a lot of issues, but we went from something to that, you know, kind of almost looks like a spacecraft to back to a capsule now, you know. And but we're getting further and further into space now, and we're actually getting more
if you believe space is real, according to some people out there.
That's right. Flat Earth people, man. Space is, it's a gimmick.
I can't. I just can't.
Hey, they're getting very famous around the globe, so we got to give them that. Way to go, guys. You know, but all joking aside, I mean, there's things that we can't explain. I mean, you know, that's why we started doing all this stuff, is because it's not just ghosts and stuff. I mean, UFOs are just as much a big part of the unknown as anything else. And when you have so much proof, I mean, yeah, some of it could be BS. I'm going to be the devil's advocate now. All right. I'm going to look at this stuff, and a skeptic is going to, you can have a UFO land in front of him, and an alien come out and shake his hand, and he's going to be like, this was bullshit. But let's just say, for instance, going with the experimental aircraft that we just talked about. All right. So we have certain, you can go online, Google this, you can go up and look at all these experimental things, from a flying wing to the actual saucers that you saw. There's this one thing that's refueling, which I think might be a stealth at a different angle, but it's mind-boggling, first of all, that something like a shape like this can fly, you know. And I realize that you gotta do all kinds of science to make stuff fly, because they're basically saying that now if there's one thing that goes wrong with the computer, they just fall out of the sky, because they're not on paper, half the jets that we have shouldn't fly because the wings are so small, and they literally are rockets, basically,
And then when you look at the classic disc shape, you need a completely different type of propulsion system to make those work.
But the shape alone is going to make it, I would think, harder to push through the air. Well,
it all depends on the propulsion system. Are we talking some sort of electromagnetic force? Are we talking anti-gravity? It's
well, and that's the thing that gets you too, because 90% of the sightings that people see, they say there was no sound. You know what I mean? I mean, and if it was an experimental, yes, they can get there before sound. Sound takes a while to travel, but are they not hearing the sound because they see the thing go over their head, and then they hear this noise and they think, wow, it was an explosion? I really don't know.
These people that report not hearing something, not only do they not hear anything, but these things appear to be suspended just above them in the air, so they don't even appear to be moving.
Right, and then when they do, it's so fast that a conventional aircraft couldn't make that speed.
Taking right angles at high rates of speed, which it would absolutely just
tear something apart,
destroy you if you were to be inside that.
Yeah, that's something else to think about, is the G-force alone on it. I mean, roller coasters are what, 4 or 5 maybe, and that feels like you're being squashed. Could you imagine, going from 0 to say 1,000 miles an hour, and that quick to make that span quick and then stop? I mean, you'd go right through the wall of the thing, I would think, or you'd be mush. I mean, people. They get in car accidents and you think they're perfectly fine because there's not a mark on them, and they're dead because the inside is all, broken up. So, I don't know, unless there's some way where they can control how your organs stay in place. I mean, I really don't know.
And that's why I look at, there's got to be some sort of, field around this, or take electromagnetism or anti-gravity, because just normal physics that we're used to just doesn't work in that situation.
No, no. I mean, and like I said, I'm no scientist. I'm talking on my ass half the time, but just common sense would tell you. I mean, you're in a car and say you go from 100 and you slam on your brakes and you can somehow come to a stop relatively quick. You're going to be almost thrown through that windshield because of the braking power by itself. Inertia and momentum is still going on, even though the object stopped. Whatever's inside is going to still be going at that speed. So, I don't know. I can say that I've always looked at the stars, and I've always realized how small we actually were. You know what I mean? I mean, you think about it, it's the greatest light show on Earth. I hate to say that, but it really is. I mean, if you ever just take time and when you can get away where there's no street lights and light pollution to block it out, you get into a field where it's dark around you and you look up and, you can see the Milky Way and you can see all kinds of cool stuff. It's very peaceful. But if you see that one thing, you can't... it could get really terrifying quick too, I would think. But these people are talking more than just seeing a dot, though. These people blacked out, wake up 35 miles down the road.
Missing time, 3-4 hours have gone by that they don't remember.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Listen, I don't believe all the alien abduction stories. I really don't. Yeah. Some of them are a bit hard to swallow, but...
Because you take into account, is this someone that's just looking for attention?
Right.
Is this someone that has mental health issues?
That's possible,
There's
too.
There's a lot of things to take into consideration.
And then, you know what? In saying that aspect with mentally health issues, I would say I absolutely believe that they think they saw what they saw. Because to them, it would be real. It would be so real.
Sure.
And how would you know the difference? I mean, if someone's either off of meds or need meds, but you can't say that every single person who's ever seen this is in that imbalance. You know what I mean? Listen, I really don't know. I don't know. There's just what I printed off today really changed my theory behind it, because for a while I thought, I don't know, but the more you read about it and you actually learn about some of these people's statuses, and you realize that these are military pilots.
There's a lot of people that are credible witnesses that have these stories.
Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter believed in them and wanted to prove that they were real, and everybody laughed at him and stuff, but I don't know, man. You know, there's some scary stuff. What was that one about the I watched the movie. It was fantastic, but it was scary as hell.
Are you talking about Travis Walton?
Fire in the Sky? Yeah.
Now, they did a lot of Hollywooding up that.
Right. Well, yeah.
But if you've ever heard Travis Walton talk, he talks about his experience. It's a believable story.
It's disturbing, actually. It's very disturbing.
Well,
you know,
the movie makes it more disturbing than actual events.
When I heard one of his interviews, it's disturbing because the guy that he takes an account, and it's so detailed, and you can see that, you know, the guy was getting very upset telling the story. It wasn't just like he was pulling things out of his head, and and
his story hasn't changed in the
ever
30 plus years that this has been going on. But
and when you really think about it, they made the movie, but listen, you got those other guys that, you know, you've got police reports saying that the guy was missing. They thought that they killed him.
Yeah, they thought this because they were loggers, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually suspected his co-workers of murdering him.
Yeah, murdering him, or an accident happened. They got scared. They wanted to hide the body. And he was gone for 4 days or something like that?
4 or 5 days, maybe a week. It was multiple days. And what's also something to point out is his co-workers, they all took lie detector tests.
Yeah, and they all passed them. Yeah.
All but one passed. One was inconclusive.
Yeah.
But, I know that these aren't admissible in court for reasons.
Right.
People who really know what they're doing
You can trick them, I guess. Yeah. But you're talking about logging dudes that don't really practice lie detector tests.
And think of all the pressure that was put on these people.
Yeah, right.
Most people that take a lie detector test are taking one for a job or something. These people were being accused of murdering their friend.
Which is upsetting enough. And then on top of it, they don't believe you enough for you got to take a lie detector test. Yeah. And they still give you a hard time. But the proof came out. The guy showed up naked at the sheriff's office or outside of the sheriff's, or somewhere around there, I guess. They found him naked.
In the movie. I don't know if that's how he was found in actuality.
I thought he said he was. He didn't have any clothes, but he found himself standing in front of a building or something like that. I'd have to watch the movie again. It was pretty.
The movie was very good. It was entertaining.
Yeah.
But if you want the true story, listen to one of Travis Walton's interviews.
Yeah, right.
Because he gives obviously a more real picture of what's going on.
Absolutely. And the other thing was I watched that Fourth Kind, the one in Alaska.
The Fourth Kind?
Holy Jesus!
Is that the one we were talking about?
Yeah. The woman whose husband was murdered, and then they blamed her for it, and then all those people had the exact same testimony. They all started out with the owl and all that. Oh my God, that movie was crazy. But it's one of those movies where at the end you go, I wonder. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Listen, you got, Alaska. It's a harsh environment, long, cold winters, you wonder, with the light deprivation and sometimes with the darkness deprivation that you don't get, that could psychologically screw with you, but...
No doubt.
But, still, when you have, I don't know, there was I think in the movie, and again, the movie dramatization and...
Yeah, you have to take that into account.
Yeah. Based on true accounts could mean somebody saw a UFO, and then all of a sudden they just stretched it to saying 400 people saw a UFO. So, I understand you got to take... It's Hollywood, but...
And all of them got abducted, and... tests were done on them, and you could embellish as much as you want.
Well, and if it's not, well, hell, I don't want that ride, man. I don't think I'd want to, I've been, on the operating table here on Earth, and that wasn't a great experience. So I wouldn't imagine being conscious while they're doing that stuff would be too fun. And why the hell don't they knock you out? That's the other thing. Everybody's awake when they're doing all this stuff. If they're that much in technology, why don't they knock the person out so you could do whatever?
I've heard different accounts. Although I think the most common one is they are awake but they're paralyzed.
Yeah,
which has got to be even scarier.
And it's always sexual.
They do apparently do sexual experiments.
That's. I don't know.
If you want to see an abduction UFO type documentary that I found just absolutely fascinating. It's the Stan Romanek story.
Yeah, you keep telling. I gotta watch. I'm gonna watch that tonight actually, because I keep forgetting. You tell me to watch it.
Yeah, I believe it's called Extraordinary.
All right, now he just got in trouble though, right? Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
This poor guy. And if you watch this documentary, whether or not you believe what he's documenting, and he's got a lot of documentation on it, he was getting harassed by people telling him to shut up, and then out of the blue he gets busted for child pornography. And we're talking about a family man. And say what you will, but it just seems to me that anytime someone's talking about stuff that they quote unquote shouldn't be talking about,
today it's child pornography.
Today they all seem to be going to jail for child pornography, which is disgusting.
And I guess a lot of people that know him, and listen, predators can hide it. Unfortunately, we know about that. But for the most part, everybody who's talked about him has nobody ever said anything like, the guy's a weirdo and this and that. I mean, he's a good family man, geez, he's but again, that could be also the way that a predator works, it's part of grooming, but
it just seemed a little coincidental that, and I've seen the documentary, and if he's faking things, and he's doing a damn good job of it, because there is some believable stuff in there.
It's some stuff I find, some things, they could be, computer graphic, but you gotta, that would have to be what your job is, to make some of stuff look so good.
You'd have to dedicate your life to making a ruse like that.
Or at least know exactly, and a lot of money. I would think that wouldn't be cheap to do something like that. But then again, unfortunately, some people are very
dedicated.
Well, I was gonna say he's unscrupulous, I guess.
Okay.
But I mean, we even get that today in the news. I mean, but yeah, I mean, there's a ton of UFO related stuff, and then there was something that Danny brought to my attention, but I took an article here, and I know you can't see it, but it says the top headline was Pentagon confirms secret program on UFO sightings since 2007. Now, we obviously know it goes way back past then, but they said at least from that point forward that, yes, we've been kind of looking into it, but nothing, there really aren't any claims that they said that were a lot of stuff gets buried.
You get a lot of half-truths.
We're fed what we want, what they want us to know, and that's any higher authority, I guess. But I mean, this was taken from the Chicago Tribune, 2018. Let me see if I find. Let me find the editor here, and then you can look it up yourself.
Was this the Chicago Tribune or the Washington Post?
This was Chicago Tribune, copyrighted 2018. The Pentagon U.S. Defense by Taboola, Taboola. And it talks about Henry Reid and addressing Las Vegas on December 2017 as the Senate Majority Leader. Reid was the key backer of the Pentagon program to analyze and report UFO sightings. So that doesn't necessarily mean that they necessarily believe in UFOs, but it says they're looking into it.
And there's no mention to anything extraterrestrial related.
No. It's a UFO. Again, it's not. I mean, if we made an aircraft in the backyard and we flew it around, people would be like, "What the hell is that?" That's a UFO, because it, especially if we built it, it would. Yeah. I don't think it'd fly too good either. That would. We're definitely not reverse engineering type of guys.
It's a UFO until it's identified.
Yeah, they would identify us when we crashed. Yeah. Look at these weird aliens. But it's always fun being a devil advocate about this. But then, if there's any question in your mind, you got to be open. You can't be complacent. You got to say, okay, is there something to this? Is it real? out of all of these people around the world, and even some people that, maybe are in the middle of, Africa in a field, and people have witnessed stuff, and they draw it in the dirt, and all this stuff has been proven. What do they have to gain from it? They're in the middle of nowhere. They're not going to get money. They don't even care. They don't even know what TV is, some of these people, you know what I mean? But they still say they witness stuff too.
Well, it's funny you say that. It actually reminded me of a story. I want to say it was around World War II time.
Okay.
One of the islands out maybe in the Pacific where, our planes came in, or it might have been the British planes, came in with like canned goods for the people on that island. And these people didn't know what a plane was. To them, these were gods that just came down, and they brought them food. So the people on the island ended up building a big structure of a plane, hoping that their gods would come back to feed them again. I mean, literally, this is what these people thought, because they didn't know any different. They had never seen a plane before.
You know what really blows me away too is I just watched last night Josh Gates. And I watched the UFO special that he had, and it was really amazing because I like that guy. I mean, he's pretty even keel. There's things he can't explain, and he doesn't really go one way or the other. But I mean, even during the show, he was cracking up because he goes, "I don't know what happened." I mean, they witnessed something, and they talked to some people, and it's just amazing that he brought up something about hieroglyphics. There was this. Oh, please forgive me. I can't think of it right now. But anyway, they went back and they were examining some hieroglyphics that were on a wall. And on this wall, they showed what looked exactly like a Huey helicopter. Another one looked just like a jet plane. One looked like a rocket ship.
I've seen near the pyramids.
Yeah.
I've seen.
And then they had the ET looking thing. But what's amazing is when you see these hieroglyphics, it exactly looks like a helicopter. I'm not talking. If you went, closed your eyes.
No, it clearly looks like
it.
One.
Absolutely does look like. So if you guys have, a chance to check out that Josh Gates special, definitely do so, because it's got some really cool things that make you think. Even if you don't believe, UFOs are full of crap. People see stuff. It's whatever you want to say it is, okay? I'm not saying there is, I'm not saying there isn't, but I can say I got questions.
Yeah.
But still, even if you see this and you go, well, if that's not seeing into the future or seeing stuff from another time, what the hell is it then? What would look like a helicopter? What would look exactly like a helicopter? What would look exactly like a jet plane back in days when transportation was foot or camel?
I hear scratching going on.
Yes. Could be the aliens trying to get in. Extraterrestrials.
Asia must be in here.
Yes.
I can hear my Bengal cat.
But she's so cute. They're both cute. So Sophie too. She's so adorable. But it's really something I've always wondered about. I mean, I can't. Outside of being a kid camping, I remember sitting on the front steps of our house as a kid, and once in a while I'd see the planes coming over, and it was funny because we were young, and this is going to date me, and I don't know how many of you people would know this, but there was a movie out called Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and it was about a flying car, and Dick Van Dyke was this crazy professor, and it's a kid's movie, but it's pretty fun. But anyway, so we would see these jet planes coming over, and some of the, I think it was the DC-7s, I think it was. The way that the lights were on from a distance, it looked like a car flying, because it looked like it had two headlights, and you just see this thing flowing. I'm like, chitty chitty bang bang. But I mean, but my father, when he was still alive, told me, I remember when we were camping, and there was an older couple that came up, and they swore up and down, they swore that they saw something around the Barkhamsted Reservoir. Couldn't tell you what it was. I couldn't, but
there's been several people.
There's been a lot of people around there, right?
Yeah.
Now that is close to Bradley Airport. So is it an experimental plane? Well,
could be.
It could be, but still, it's a UFO until you figure out what it is. But I'm completely open. You know what I mean? I would absolutely be thrilled. You know, if they said, okay, yeah, we've been bullshitting you and they're real. I'd be a little scared, but I'd be like, cool, you know?
That's going to be kind of a hard one for them to do, because then they have to admit that they've been lying to us for many years.
Yeah.
Now, of course, their easy out that they would probably use is it was because of national security.
Yeah.
That seems to be the
Panic.
go-to.
Panic.
Yeah, afraid people would panic.
Yeah.
I honestly think that the majority of people could handle that.
I would think, as a right, who are they to hide that from us? I mean, just people of planet Earth, it'd be kind of nice to know that there's something else out there. You know what I mean? And I don't mean just from the United States, but all over the world. I mean, it's not just the United States that sees this stuff. It's all over the world,
I'll tell you another problem, too, is there's fear that, you know, people's religion would come crashing down, because it kind of goes against what a lot of religions teach. But when you look at the other side, I remember the Pope saying that if we found extraterrestrial life, that he would baptize them.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. So. Imagine that, you know. You know, I don't know, dude. This is one of those where the more I look into it, the more fascinated I am by it, but also the bullshit meter kind of goes up on some of it. Do you know what I mean? I don't mean to sound like an a-hole, and please forgive me, but I think the problem is because I think there are some genuine people who had real stories to tell, and who am I to judge who they are? But I think that let's say out of a million cases, I'm pulling a number out of my butt. Out of a million cases, at least 1,000 to, let's go 5,000, have to be something. Just the odds alone out of a million that they're all bullshit, you know, and these are from people that are professional people, not just, you know, hi, I live in a, you know, like everybody always says, you know, they always make fun of these people, they're the poor or this, but they're not. These are people from all walks of life.
Everyday people.
Yeah, you know, and something like that would change your life, I think, forever. I know it would change mine. I would be there'd be so many other questions, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's something that I think it's something we have to look into. I still feel we need to learn more about this planet too, because if they are coming here, there's a reason for it. You know, are we a zoo? You know, are we a petri dish that they're experimenting with? But there's so many things here that we still don't even know. You know, everybody's reaching for the sky and stuff, but they even say that a lot of the great places where some of these UFOs could be hidden are underwater. You know, I mean, think of that. We've only scratched the surface of our seas. We can only go down to certain depths. I mean, if this thing could come from outer space, why the hell can it be?
If that's even where it's coming from.
If it is, and if it's real, why the hell couldn't this thing hang out at the bottom of the ocean? And you know what I'm saying? I mean, there's people that say they have seen, you know, I don't want to use that word, but they've seen stuff from the ocean. So I don't know, man. You know, I mean,
well, I mean, just to kind of break things, you know, back around to previous conversations too, is, you know, maybe these things aren't coming from, you know, millions of light years away. Maybe they're coming from the same space we're in, but they're a multi-dimensional type thing.
Different time travel. I mean, theoretically, time travel, they say, is possible. How do we know it hasn't been done? I mean, any technology we see today has been out for 20 years. That's just the way it is.
At least.
That's just the way it is. And if you think that's bullshit, then you're full of crap, because there's no way anybody's going to release anything that's top secret. Anything that we see has been around already, or anything, I think, aeronautical that you think is possible, I think is
already being done.
For the most part,
things that you don't think are possible are probably already been around for 10, 12 years.
Absolutely. I mean, there was a movie out, back in the 80s, and it was a Clint Eastwood movie, and it was dry for most of it, but there was some good scenes, and there were Firefox. I don't know if you've ever remembered that movie. Okay. That was loosely based on the SR airplane that that
7-1?
Yeah. Was that Lockheed Martin, I think it was. For all you plane buffs, please correct me. It's okay. Just don't call me a stupid shit, but you can feel free to correct me. I'm okay with that. But it was amazing because this plane you thought was completely fictional. Absolutely just, like an X-Wing fighter kind of looking thing. The thing was big and nobody ever knew this. And then all of a sudden you start seeing little snippets. Is this real? Is this, And then slowly it came out that yes, in fact, that plane was real. Not the one they used in the movie, obviously, but that type of plane is absolutely real. Supersonic. I mean, at this point, that we know of can't go faster than that. But how do we know?
Well, that's with the propulsion system
that we know of. Yeah.
So again, getting back to who knows really what kind of technology they're working with. I don't have the slightest clue.
I just think that as humans, though, we kind of have. If anybody's ever played Dungeons and Dragons, they'll know what I'm talking about, and they'll crack up. Gnome's disease. As a human, we always have to build things so big because we can't grasp the technology of putting it into something small at first. So everything is big because we're trying to work out the bugs. And once we get it refined, we can make it smaller. We can make it smaller. And finally, we end up with a cell phone, like we were talking about, from a computer the size of a room. Where I'm going with this is, I mean, some of these ships that people see are supposed to be huge, and it kind of would make sense that, if it was man-made, it would probably be ridiculous huge because we wouldn't know. But then again, you have to think of this. If it's so big, how the hell does it get off the ground? Right? There's no jet sounds. There's no propellers. There's not. Again, these things are. Let's go small. They say the size of a football field. That's freaking huge, man. I don't know about you, but something that big flying around. Think about that a second. You know what I mean? The first time I saw the C5A Galaxy, I thought it was a UFO when I first walked up it, because I kept walking. This thing just doesn't get. It was so huge, but as I'm walking to it, it doesn't ever seem to get closer. And then finally, you're standing there and you're looking at this thing, going, "How does this thing even break the barriers of of gravity and fly? It's so big." And then later on, you find out, oh, the Russians built something bigger. But that's where I'm going with this. I mean, a lot of these things you see and. These flying wings and whatnot, and the plane that you see, just a throwback for you, the plane that you actually see in Raiders of the Lost Ark when Indiana Jones is fighting the bad guys, the Nazis, and he's fighting this guy and he ends up pushing him through the propeller of this plane. That plane's real. That plane is absolutely real. It was developed by the government. It's right there on the other screen that I wish you guys could see. So these really odd-shaped planes have been around since World War II, and who knows, maybe before that. They maybe didn't fly as well as they wanted, so they changed it up and they kept things traditional, but always had that in the back pocket just in case we need. During World War II, look what happened with the Germans. They made a fucking rocket plane, right? Where did that come from? You know what I'm saying? I mean, technology.
The Nazis had a flying saucer.
That some people say the Bell.
Or
Did you ever hear the story?
Yes,
the Bell.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of.
And that was the Doomsday Bell or something. Somebody called it.
There was supposedly some sort of them trying to develop time travel involved in that too.
Yeah. Well, that would be bending space, I guess, in a way, wouldn't it? You'd be kind of creating a wormhole if you could do time travel. You'd be able to zip in and out of places, and why wouldn't you be able to set a destination with that, I guess?
I don't get how the physics work, but
I don't know. Where's Yoda when you need him? It is good, no? But I think it's just amazing that there's more questions than there are answers. We definitely know that. Whether some of them we just think of our own, but I mean, air traffic control. I mean, these people have also seen stuff on radar, not just with their eyes, but they've actually witnessed it on their instruments that there's something in a flight path, and then all of a sudden it's gone. Is it a blip? Or could it be a cloud? Could it be I guess I don't know enough about it, but if these people are trained enough where they know the difference between a fly, let's say, and a plane, and there's this thing that's gigantic and it's coming over there, and no other cloud ever been picked up by this machine before, but all of a sudden now it's picking this up. I don't know, man.
Back in the the days they were known as the Foo Fighters.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
You know, during I think World War II, you know, the planes would end up chasing after these things. They had no clue what they were looking at. I mean, these are military personnel.
Yeah.
You know.
Some actually think that those were the German.
Very possible.
Because I mean, what would you do if you're flying a propeller and you see this thing pass you out like you're sitting still? What the hell was that, right? I have an unidentified flying object that just buzzed me. What is it? So, I mean, that's possible, you know. But the thing that gets me, though, is this stuff isn't just the United States. I mean, this is all over the world. This is in places where, like I said, people don't have technology. This is people in the middle of, you know, tribal people, you know, people BC. You know, people in BC time.
I mean, look at some of the artwork from back then too. One thing in particular, if I remember correctly, was a painting of the Blessed Mother, and up in the sky you see what looks like a UFO.
Yeah, I've seen something like that before. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know, guys. That's why we do these shows. We're trying to figure out. I guess
we'll have a real interesting one coming up soon too.
Very soon. Very soon.
I'm gonna get into the whole ancient astronaut theory and the Anunnaki, which I find a fascinating story.
That is pretty cool stuff.
Whether or not you believe it or not, it's just a fascinating story.
Yeah. If you think it's fictional, it's great fiction.
Yeah.
But I gotta tell you, there's correlations there. I don't know.
You know, and it ties into religion.
Yeah.
And it ties into evolution. It ties into a lot of stuff, and it's very, very fascinating.
Roman and Greek gods.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, mythology. It's all in that. That's what makes it really interesting because, you know, I mean, even back then, like you said, they believed that there was travel, but not just Earth.
If you go to India and you talk about, you know, flying machines, you know, in prehistory, people from India will say, yeah, what else is new? You know, this is, to them, that's nothing strange. They talked about flying machines called Vimanas back then. Just,
well, you know, it's, I don't know, you know, I'm always looking up, and when I get out of the car,
I love looking at the sky.
I check out things, you know, and hoping that one day you see something, nothing too close, but something that makes you go, holy shit, maybe I was wrong about certain things, you know. And that's, you know, nobody ever wants to be proven wrong, but I like when there's proof and it makes you stop and think, and you go, geez, that does change my thinking now.
I tell you what, my pride and ego aren't too big, where if I see obvious proof of something, that I'm willing to say, oh wow, okay, I was wrong.
Yeah,
I have no problem with that.
There's
some people out there that their pride is just too much, that you could be staring them, they could be stared in the face with so much evidence, you know, contrary to what they believe, and they're not going to believe you.
Skeptic is always a skeptic, usually. There's always something in the back of the mind that makes.
I mean, one prime example I think of is with Egypt and the Sphinx. What is it? The accepted date for, you know, archaeologists is, you know, the Sphinx and the pyramids are you know, were built in 2500 BC. There is proof that the Sphinx is much older than that, and yet they won't even look at that evidence and give it any credence because they're so stuck in their ways that they don't want to believe.
Don't they even say that the Mayan temples were older than some of the ones they found in
maybe, but
Egypt?
I do know of Göbekli Tepe, where they dated that, and even mainstream has dated that to, I think, 13,000 years ago. So that's older than mainstream science even says that, you know, modern humans, well, I shouldn't say modern humans, I should say
civilization that we know it, kind of a deal.
Yeah, civilization.
Like a modern civilization.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm trying to say.
Something that was the beginning to kind of how we got. Yeah. Well, it's and the other thing that blew me away too was I was doing I was always fascinated by Egypt and the correlation of technology and stuff that blew me away. And I was blown away to find out that they actually made batteries back then.
In Iraq they found that.
Yeah, like batteries again that post-date Christ, right? I mean, they were either shortly after he was born or right before he was born. They actually found like remnants of stuff that
they call it the Baghdad battery. Now, the accepted thing that they think it was used for maybe like electroplating gold or other metals.
But still.
But again, that's still just amazing for people that were supposedly not very technologically
rubbing sticks together.
Advanced. Yeah.
They know how to take gold and put it on something and make it beautiful.
My question is how did people who are not that technologically advanced build the pyramids when we can't do it today?
We can't. We have theories of how it's built, but we really don't even still. They say sound waves, right? Another one was kites that help pull it across. Listen, you're also getting stone. Now, again, let me be the devil's advocate. Back then, it was a green forest. It wasn't a desert then. Back then, let's say it was plush and it was plentiful of rocks.
It wasn't, though, if you go by the dates that they say.
But I'm just saying, well, they were wrong. They don't know. So let's say that it was lush jungle. Well, here's my question for that one. Where did all the sand come from then? You know what I mean? I mean, you got soil that goes bad. It would still be, but you have parts. I don't know. You have salt flats like in Africa. They say that there's a primeval ooze when you step on it. It's kind of, you know what I mean? Why isn't that sand? You know what I'm saying? How does all this?
We can do a whole show on this topic
Jesus,
too.
yeah, the changing of the climates and everything else that goes into that. It was a big can of hairspray they used back then, and it changed everything. But, well, those dinosaurs had to look good back then, you know. They had the big mohawks going on. So that's where the UFOs came. They saw these things with mohawks and hey. But getting off topic, going back to it though, but where I'm going with this is a lot of those hieroglyphics even back then that they found on Egyptian walls and stuff always showed stuff coming from the sky, and this stuff that was coming from the sky would look like a guy with a space helmet on. Again, some kind of craft of some sort.
You want to go further back and talk about what's been seen on the cave paintings? That we're talking thousands and thousands of years ago, where they show similar pictures.
Yeah.
And there's also pictures on these caves that look exactly like satellite images.
Yeah, you were going into explain that to everybody. That's another cool thing to talk about.
A lot of things are just, there's just so much that happens.
You can look it up and actually see it on the internet, though, right? Yeah.
I mean, just to.
And we know if it's on the internet, it's got to be true
if it's on the internet. No, but I mean, there's actual pictures of the cave paintings. Pictures that we're taking, and you can see like these. It looks like these animals that were drawn in like black, and then you see kind of like these little white splotches near them. If you look at that and put it next to actual satellite picture of animals like on a plane, the little white spot is the actual animal, and the black part is the shadow. And it matches up perfectly. That's
incredible.
That looks like an animal's shadow. So I mean, it could be completely coincidental, but it's just amazing to look at the two side by side and say it looks exactly the same.
And you're talking about primitive people that couldn't fly. I mean, I guess it's possible you stood on a mountain. All right, again, devil's advocate, stood up on a mountain, but I don't know, man. I mean, you'd have to be a real friggin' high mountain, right? I mean, well, then again, there are high mountains, so
true.
I don't know. I guess I'm just thinking out of the box. I'm trying to give some validity to this, but I did see those drawings because when you sent them to me, I checked them out, and I was really blown away by them. If anything, that's one hell of an artist rendition for someone who doesn't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's really crazy.
And these are, what mainstream science says that these are cavemen.
I do have something to bring up. Going back with satellites, the black satellite.
Black Knight satellite?
Talk to us about this. Now, this was actually supposedly, loosely, truly proven, right? I mean, so they say.
There's nothing that says that there's actual proof of it.
Okay.
There's pictures that could be it, but there's also stories from people thousands of years ago that talk about seeing this in the sky. Now, this is a time where there were no satellites, but again, it's one of those. It could be just like one of those like myths or old wives' tales that they say. But again, if there was truly a satellite in the sky, and the people that really believe in it like estimate it being 13,000 years old, that's just I'm speechless as far as that goes. And again, I can't know for sure, so even I can't say I believe it's true or not. But if it were true, then that just opens the book up on a whole bunch of other stuff.
I just, it's just an amazing topic because I think for the most part, anyone throughout their life will know the one person who has some kind of UFO story or some kind of, not sure what I saw, but I saw something. You know what I mean? It is amazing. I mean, you think about just what we're learning, every year from science, and with every one of these telescopes now that they're putting up there. And I can't wait for this latest one. That thing's going to be amazing, I guess. They said we're going to be able to gaze millions of light years and probably even longer than that. It's really amazing when you think about really the only space travel we've ever done was go in orbit of the moon. And we're already planning a trip to Mars. I don't know if I'd want to be on that trip. That's another thing is, what do you do for food? Are they going to freeze you? Are they going to knock you out? Are they going to... I mean, that's going to be freaking boring. How long is it going to take to get there?
I don't know.
It's years. I mean...
It'd have to be, yeah.
How much food can you... Do you know what I mean? I mean, how do you keep people alive for that long? It would have to be a ginormous ship with a lot of food and maybe 2 people on it.
And for some people, I mean, and then think about if they end up exploring even further out, where it would take like generations to get to your destination. You got to sign up for something that that you're never actually going to make it to the destination. You're doing it for your
and there's
next
no
generation.
Guarantee you're going to live anyway. Because once you get there, what happens when the oxygen runs out? You're gonna have to find a way to supply oxygen or make oxygen. How are you going to do food? How are you going to stay warm? What do you do for shelter? You're going to live in a spaceship?
And again, they're going to have to figure this stuff out before they send people out.
But you got people that are like, I'll sign up now for it.
People are crazy.
Go ahead, man.
People are crazy.
I got a one-way ticket. We should send a lot of those voices that we hear today in the news going on that. Why don't you guys go on that trip and report us back in about 15 years? Let us know what it's like. But, I don't know, going into SpaceX now, this is something, or Space Force. That sounds cool. SpaceX is one thing, but then they're saying Trump wants to start like a new NASA called Space Force. It's going to be part of the intergalactical, we're supposed to be having a military for that.
Oh, okay.
So I was wondering if they're going to look like Dark Helmet.
Oh, jeez.
Major assholes, sir. I'm surrounded by assholes. And I'm not making fun of President Trump. I think it's cool. I just think there's so much more here we need to investigate more. I still think that we need to go to the ocean and learn more about that.
No doubt.
With that, maybe we'll start seeing, UWFOs. Unidentified water flying objects or something.
I mean, there are talk of USOs, which
USOs,
are unidentified submerged objects. And it's like you were talking about a little bit before, there are people that have seen, objects come out of the water or be in the sky and go into the water. So, I mean, there's definite, cases of people seeing that.
Admiral Byrd. Is that right?
Oh, Admiral Byrd.
Something about the South Pole,
He flew between the poles. He went to the North Pole and the South Pole, explored in Antarctica. There's a lot to talk about with him, and a lot of the stuff that he did gets totally twisted around by people that want to believe different things. Sure. It would take so long to get into that, but he himself claims that he ran into flying vehicles that could pretty much circle the poles in unbelievable time. I mean, he has said this. If anyone interested, Richard E. Byrd.
We're talking World War I, though, weren't we?
No.
Was it World War II?
World War II and after.
Okay.
Yeah. He, I want to say in the 50s is when he really did a lot of his expeditions. But he took a whole fleet of people to Antarctica. And he did a lot of exploring down there. But it is a very interesting thing.
Did he meet the wall that keeps us from falling off the earth? And
I'm not even going to dignify that response.
Dude, the ground is flat because the ground I walk on is flat, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yes. I've been up in a plane and it's always flat because we're flying straight. I'm sorry. I got turned on to flat earthers on YouTube and I was laughing hysterically. What scares me is to think that one of these days one of these people could be running the country, which kind of scares the shit out of me. But that's a whole nother show. Actually, that's a show we're not even going to go into. We're not even going to do that. Yeah. It's just too easy. But I think with the amount of space travel, the amount of air travel today. And you do have a lot of people that, airline pilots, commercial airline pilots too, not just military, that also have witnessed things and they reported stuff back, and even them have been kind of downplayed, so to speak, hushed up or whatever. I guess in closing thought and kind of a last moment thing is, again, don't be complacent with this. I mean, there are people that have some proof that we can't figure out what it is, and who are we to say they're wrong? So I say keep looking up, stay happy, and reach for the stars. And on that note, we end tonight. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
We'll see you next week.
See you next Thursday. I'm not sure what the topic's going to be yet.
We're working on it.
Definitely open to some suggestions. What do you think? Do you have anything in particular that you're interested in?
Let's do Bigfoot. Let's actually do a Bigfoot
we can
show.
Do a full show on Bigfoot?
I want to do.
You know what? I tell you what. We could do a cryptozoology.
Let's do that. Then that way we can do Loch Ness and
Mothman.
There's all kinds of cool stuff.
I think it might be tough doing a full show on just Bigfoot, but we could
certainly do something with it, though. Yeah, I think we could. So, with that said, for all you folks that joined us tonight on Facebook Live and have had a terrible reception because we're having troubles with our video camera, we are posting this, so it'll be a little better. And you can always see us on YouTube. What is our address again?
It's Chasing Shadows is the name of the YouTube page.
So give us a thumbs up, like us. Please, guys, give us some topics, some stuff maybe you want to hear. We are going to get the technical difficulties eventually figured out.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
It is.
That's what makes it fun.
At least we got another camera up to try to do this. So we have two cameras, and I won't get... Your cameraman sucks, man. We know that. We don't have one. That's why he sucks. But I do want to reach out to all the people who did sign on tonight and say hello. We haven't been ignoring you. I have my reading glasses on, so I can't see anything but like a blur over there where the comments have come in. Once in a while, I pull them off to say hello to people.
Now, unfortunately, there's a few updates on the screen, so it's kind of blocking the view too.
Yeah, we just hope it isn't coming up on YouTube Live.
I don't know.
Facebook Live.
So.
X out of those quick. Let's see if we can just see what we got with some of these people here. Hold on one second, folks. We're still getting through this. All right, so
it's not letting me do that.
There's that one. And who do we have on this feed now?
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
This is I can't even see where I'm at.
Gonna need your brother-in-law to look at this and clean this computer up for us, I think.
All right.
4 drivers, something or other.
Where do you even X out of this?
I have no idea, brother. Just click on that. Click on that feed there where people are coming in and out and see what we got.
There we go.
We got some people. All right, so
these are all old, I think.
Are those old?
Yeah.
The newer one goes to the top, is it? Hey, Joey. What's going on?
Nobody.
Hello, Jody. Hello. Hello, Albert. And Tina. Hello, everybody. We didn't ignore you. I apologize. Hi, Betsy. Haven't played pool in a while. I gotta download that on my new phone. But anyway, guys, thank you guys for joining in. For all of you who did. For all of you who have had problems seeing us because it's choppy.
Yeah, it looks like it froze up on this one anyway. So
we apologize. So we're gonna end that. Watch us. We will be posting it tonight, though. Enjoy and let us know what we can do. Let us know some cool things. We are also thinking about taking this to some live haunted places when we go out. Once we get this situated. Any techie specialists out there, please give us some inside information or help on how to do this. We're not asking you to purchase anything for us. We are a non-profit. We're just trying to get the word out about us. Check us out at www.supernatural-inc.com. That website will be up and renewed very shortly. We're working on that as well. We haven't touched it yet, but we are going to be getting to that next. Maybe we'll get some of these videos up there as well. But again, guys, thank you very much for spending your dinner hour with us. We hope that you guys enjoyed the show, and we look forward to talking to you all again real soon. For all you people out there, thank you so much.
We'll
Good
see
night
you next week.
and God bless.
No, don't do that. You gotta, there you go. Now hit stop recording. There you go.